Good morning, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good day, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news this Monday morning. We live in a world of vastly ignorant and sleeping masses, who believed that they were doing the right thing. And they were on the winning team, because we have become a society enslaved by this mass adoption and acceptance of the false narrative of the cabal. And this is why the Q team knew that a new narrative needed to be gradually introduced. And so they used Trump to do this by inviting him to run. And by the way, he refers to that quite frequently, the fact that he was invited to run. And one brings that up as well. If he was invited, who invited him, we all know. But he was used as a tool, in a sense, by the white hats inviting him to run, knowing full well that MAGA would be demonized by the mainstream media. Because it's the inverse of the cabal narrative. Not only did the white ads know this, but Trump knew this. He knew exactly what he was getting into. And the team knew that the truth would be branded as a conspiracy theory. But that gradually, the population over time was going to wake up, not because they were told the truth, but because they had to live through it. They were shown, they were forced to face the truth. And of course, we're just in the beginning stages of that. But the team knew that the truth would be branded as a conspiracy theory. Trump knew that. But gradually, the population would wake up to the reality that they're being fed lies by the system. And if they've been lied to in the past year, or in the past 2 years, or in the past 5 years, or 10 years, well, when did the lies actually begin? How long have they been lied to? What's actually been truthful? And once you peel away the layers of that onion, it gets really interesting, doesn't? And that's, of course, where all of us are. And this is what's about to hit the rest of the population. Like a tidal wave, folks, like the tsunami that this Poseidon weapon can create, reportedly a quarter of a mile high, that can wipe out an entire coastline. And metaphorically speaking, all of this disclosure that's coming at us is exactly that. It's a nuclear charge in the ocean, creating this tsunami that is absolutely going to drench the population, that is going to inundate all of us with reality, like we have never faced before in our lifetime. But the thing that we have to remember is that reality isn't just bad. It isn't all dark. It isn't all satanic. It isn't all horrific. There is an amazing, beautiful, incredible, wonderful world all around us. And of course, far beyond this planet. And I do believe that in our lifetime, we are going to go into the stars, we are going to explore other planets, we are going to experience a golden age that honestly, folks, words can't even describe. Books are going to be written about it. We are making history right now. And of course, this process has been painful. There's no two ways about it. But the Great Awakening had to unfold this way, because the conditioning, and this is where I began tonight, has run so deep that there was no possible way to awaken the population, while at the same time avoiding civil war, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more. There was no other way to do this. Other than the way that it's unfolded, and it had to be covert, it had to be discreet. It had to be a counter-narrative that was introduced, that was considered fringe and conspiracy theory, but gradually over time, with the Q drops, and the whole Q team and Trump and all of the comms and all the brilliant anons out there that will put all of this information together so that all of us could understand it. This was always the plan. The truth always wins in the end. It just takes a lot of time for people to accept it. And even given the fact that we're in October of 2022, and even though the trend has shifted dramatically in the right direction, if we're being honest, all around us. And I talked about this just the other day when I did a coffee chat. I'm not going to shy away from it. Because this is the dominant perception of most patriots out there. All around us. We are still swimming in a sea of ignorance. Because we haven't. But we do know that that big event is coming. And when it comes, it's going to forever change this world. And like I've talked about in the past, unlike every other historical event that has happened in the past, what's coming is going to be so epic and so biblical that there's not going to be any way for people to deny it, for people to call it a conspiracy theory, for people to rationalize it out of their mindset, to pretend it isn't there, all of that. And by the way, the cabal made sure that all of those trap doors were there for people, all of those escape routes. So people were looking for a reason not to believe the truth. They provided that in spades. But once all of that goes away with this big event, we're big. And by the way, I don't mean just one single event. I mean, This storm is going to force people for the first time in history to face the truth and universally humanity. Like one says, everyone's going to have to pick a lane, everyone is going to have to decide where they stand. And all of us have already made that decision. And I do believe that once the truth has been revealed to all of society, that a vast majority of the people out there are going to make the same decision that we made, once they come to realize that they've been lied to and deceived their entire lives. And we're at a point right now, all of us in some way, shape or form, need to see dramatic action. But the good news, folks, is that I do believe that, contrary to all the other times, and we've been talking about the need for us to have a win, that need for us to have that big breakthrough moment, where we finally see the military come forward, where we finally see RS, where we finally see justice. I do believe that that is literally right around the corner. Now, what happens in terms of the midterms, none of us can really know for sure at this point, and I laid out for folks what I do believe is going to happen. And I also believe that this Q plan, right from the beginning, has been designed and engineered with a primary objective, with two primary objectives: rescue and save as many innocent lives as possible and prevent civil war, and world war and mass destruction have historically been tricked into doing by the cabal. That's what this plan has been all about. So I do believe, right to my core, that the white hats know what the red lines in the sand are for the patriots. They know that if they come for our guns, put us in FEMA camps, if they come to start rounding people up, these are lines that they simply cannot cross and then expect to somehow get the toothpaste to go back inside the tube. Because if it ever does become kinetic, and if patriots ever do actually get triggered into kinetic violence, and I pray that that never happens. And I want to be very clear about this. I'm not advocating that, and everything that I stand for has been trying to push us in the direction of peace. But yet at the same time being very honest about what our reaction will be if we're pushed too far. And I do think that they know this. And they're not going to go down this road. Because if they do, like I've said before, if we go down that path towards war, whether it's civil war, or whether it's world war, you can kiss the Great Awakening goodbye. At that point, it becomes a historical footnote. And the only thing that matters at that point is your survival, and the protection and survival of your family, your friends, your tribe. That's what ends up happening. And that has been the contrary. It's been the antithesis, I should say, of what the Q plan has been about, since its genesis. And that's always been the reason why I've had faith, and I believe that we were never going to go down this road. And even in this final stage of this pantomime, as it's looking more and more like we are headed directly toward world war and civil war, I do believe that all of this has been engineered, and has been planned right from the beginning to put us through the simulation of where we were going to be headed, because it was the only way for people to accept the reality of the world that we live in, and the reality of these monsters and where they wanted to take us. There was no possible way other than showing. I mean, just go back to kindergarten, show until you can show people things, or you can tell people things. And in this situation, folks, telling people just isn't suffice. And so, as much as we all don't like the fact that we've had to suffer through this whole process, I think when we really zoom out, and we recognize where we are right now, the reality of where we are in history, and what is necessary in order to avoid the wholesale destruction of humanity, clearly, this was the better path. So this process has been easier for some. And I actually think all of us, we've really had it easier in the grand scheme of things, because it's going to be almost impossible for people out there who haven't even begun to accept the truth, to wrap their brains around what's coming, because the real truth threatens their sense of security. Which is ironic, because this illusion of safety inside of this matrix is achieved by blindly accepting an agenda which will end in your own destruction. So it's been a long and difficult and drawn-out process. And I thank God that we've all been brought together. Alright, folks, hopefully you enjoyed the situation update today. Please let me know in the comments. Please do everything you can to support my work and my vision. Thank you very much. WWG